Hello, this is Roland. Welcome. Today I want to read you a little something from The Imitation of Christ by Thomas à Kempis, the most widely read devotional of all time. It's a beautiful book. I've recently become acquainted with it. I've known about it for years, but it's only recently that I've read it and appreciate some of the insights and good practices that he talks about. I want to read a little bit to you from The Imitation of Christ. Seek a suitable time for your meditation, and think frequently of the mercies of God to thee. Leave curious questions. Study such matters as bring thee sorrow for sin rather than amusement. If you withdraw yourself from trifling conversation and idle goings about, as well as from novelties and gossip, you will find your time sufficient and apt for good meditation. The greatest saints used to avoid, as far as they could, the company of men, and chose to live in secret with God. One hath said, as oft as I have gone among men, so oft have I returned less a man. This is what we often experience when we have been long time in conversation. For it is easier to be altogether silent than it is not to exceed in word. It is easier to remain hidden at home than to keep sufficient guard upon yourself out of doors. He therefore that seeks to reach that which is hidden and spiritual must go with Jesus, apart from the multitude. Very, very interesting. Let's go back to the beginning. Seek a suitable time for your meditation. What he has in mind is that you find a quiet time. But I'm going to go in one better. I understand what he means. And I understand where he continues to say that it's good to find some alone time. Okay. Christ often went off by himself. There's something about people. They always want something. They're always clawing, grasping for something. They want something from you. They want a piece of you. People who are entertainers or stars, sports stars, entertainers, musicians, singers, they know that. People want a piece of you. Well, there's something draining about being around people, especially because the level of conversation, the average level of conversation is very low. It's not about the important things in life. It's always about the most trivial. You know, who's going to win the ball game, and who hit a home run, and who's going to be the champion of the league. Things like that. Trivia. You know, where the cheapest, I don't know, something useless. The cheapest thing is to buy online. It's just useless. Trivial. But let's go back to the beginning here. It says, seek a suitable time for your meditation. But see, here's the thing. See, there's a measure in everything. There's a certain amount, a measure of giving and a measure of withholding that you have to learn in life. Christ was always with the people all the time. He talked to them, he taught them, he healed them. He was with them all, they were always around. He didn't just go off by himself all the time like a recluse. He was with people, but he needed alone time. Okay? He needed alone time to commune with the Father. See, when you're with people, there's always something they want, isn't there? Well, you give, especially if you're the father. You're always there. You have to be there for your family. And so you see how important the proper measure is. So you're there for your family. But then you find a little bit of time for meditation. But you don't turn your family away because you selfishly want time alone, because you resent their demands. See, people are demanding, and your kids, especially if you're a father, will want something from you, won't they? They'll want you to be there. And so you should be there. But can you see that idle conversation with your friends, playing golf, playing basketball, sitting around talking about foolish things, trivial things, it's a waste of time. Watching sports on television, a waste of time. Listening to music, a waste of time. See, complete waste of time. You should be there for your family, not watching sports. See, that doesn't mean that a man with his son or a lady with her daughter can't sit and watch a little tennis or a little something. But the purpose is to be with them. And you don't make it too important. You don't get lost in a tennis match. And a little bit, not too much. The proper measure is so important. Sometimes it's not so important what you do as that you show the proper measure. Less is better than more. Instead of the extra piece of pie, no, one is enough for me. Thank you. See? The beer, no thank you, I don't need it. The alcohol, I don't need it. The piece of candy, well, thank you very much. It's nice of you to offer, but I don't really need any, thank you. See? Less is better than more. Golf game on Saturday, Joe? You've got an opening in a foursome? No, I'm going to be home. I've got some things to do with my family. Okay? See? It's like that. When you're with people, maybe around the office or something, and there's gossip, then you don't get involved. You don't resent them. You don't resent them. You don't resent the people who are gossiping, but you don't get involved. Maybe you quietly stand up and see. If you're at the office cafeteria, you get your tray and say, excuse me, I've got to get back to work. And you just leave. You don't get involved in it. See? See how important it is to know the measure of giving and, withholding. Well, now let's get back to this again. Seek a suitable time for meditation. Well, let's cut to the quick. Or what's the expression I want? Cut to the chase. The best time to meditate is the first thing in the morning. But like I've said so many times, not any meditation. Most meditations are just the opposite of what is good for us. What is good for us is an encounter with truth. What is good for us is to become still, okay, in the moment, and realize God's presence. See, that's what's good for you. Realize the light, the inner light. Be close to your intuition, wordless, but you wordlessly know in your heart. That's what's good. That's what's good for you. And so if you get close to the inner light of truth, the inner light which shines on all things, see, and reveals all things, which as a little child you knew, see, and you knew it as conscience when you were a little child. You knew your intuition in three ways. This is very important. You knew more when you were a little child than you do now, as far as these important matters of the soul go. You knew it. You knew your intuition. You knew the inner light from God in three ways. Number one was, for example, if you saw injustice, somebody was being nice to one child and mean to another one, or they gave one child more French fries and the other one less, just out of meanness. See? You saw the injustice. You saw it. No one had to tell you about what injustice was. You saw it. Okay? You didn't learn it in school. You didn't have to go to school. You just saw it. Somebody was being mean. You saw it. Okay? Maybe you couldn't put words on it. You were only a little child, but you saw it. Well, that's the inner light from God. You were close to it. The second way you knew your intuition was when you, for example, got angry. Maybe you got angry at your mommy. And you were very angry and you thought mean thoughts about your mommy. But then afterwards, what? You felt bad. You felt bad for being angry. That's your conscience. In your heart, you knew you shouldn't be angry. See? That's your conscience. And you probably reconciled with your conscience when you were a little child. Especially if your parent was halfway decent. Some parents are so mean. You go to your parent, you want to say, I'm sorry, Mom. I'm sorry I was angry. Well, it's too late now. It's not good enough. You always have some excuse. You bring me nothing but misery. Why can't you be like your brother? He's so nice. All you do is upset me all the time. You're a big bother. Get out of my sight. Some parents are that mean. They say it, or maybe they don't say it. They're never there for you, or they reject you, see? If you have a decent parent, I'm sorry, Mommy. I'm sorry I was angry. Well, it's all right. See, you're reconciled. You're reconciled to your mom, but more importantly, you're reconciled to conscience, to God's inner light. The third way you knew of your intuition when you were a little child was sometimes you saw things. You knew things. You laid on the grass of a summer's night and looked up at the stars. And you had a sense of something, some destiny, something beyond what you knew. You couldn't quite grasp it, but you knew there was something. Okay? Well, my Kindle just turned off. I have this Kindle Paperwhite. It is the most wonderful thing, this Kindle Paperwhite. It's not like the newer Kindles, the ones that connect to the internet and you can do anything, watch movies on them and everything. That wouldn't be good. It would be a distraction. This one is very simple. You have books in it. You can connect to Amazon to the bookstore in case you want to get a sample of a book or something. But otherwise, it's just for reading. It was a perfect gift for kids. Kids don't need a smartphone, especially little kids. It's a distraction. It's too much for them. They don't need it. What they need is something simple where they can read. Okay? And they'll love it. If there's not tons of distractions and video games and movies and social media and everything on it, if it's just reading, they will. They will read. So you were close to your intuition. But then you fell away from it. You fell away from it by becoming emotional, and your clear perception became clouded. You fell away by becoming angry and resentful. See? You fell away from it through being teased and through cruelty, and then through wanting something from the world. When you began to fall away from your intuition, you began to feel empty inside, because all good comes from God through this inner light. So feeling empty, you look for love from the world. Maybe the group was there and they were cruel and they teased you and so you hated them. But when you hated them, that cut you off from your inner ground. Cut off from your inner ground, you felt empty. See? And you didn't know how to reconcile with the inner ground, or you were too prideful. And so you looked for the approval from who? The very ones who had caused you to be cut off from your inner ground. So you looked for the peer group's approval, for their support. Then you went with them, but then you had to do things with them, didn't you? If you didn't, they would reject you again. So you had to drink with them and smoke marijuana with them and do silly things with them, see? So those ways you fell away from. And then you fell under the enticement of somebody who encouraged you to be ambitious, to be something, a coach, a teacher, see? Or something you saw on television or heard, because inside you were angry and you felt inferior. The reason you felt inferior is because you were resentful, see. But you mistook it as being inferior for some reason, and so you then sought to prove something to them, to prove something to someone. And so you moved farther and farther away from your inner ground of good. But then your thoughts began to become dark, and your unhappiness increased, and your hunger increased And you sought satisfaction in food and drugs and marijuana and sex and friendship and entertainment and music and activity in you. But there was nothing satisfying. So at a certain point, you realize that what you lost, see, was a connection with your inner ground. See, what you knew in your heart when you were a little child. And so, you want to get back to it. So the most important thing is nothing else is more important, is to reconcile with your conscience, to reconcile with your intuition. Okay? And the way that is done is by yearning for something. Yearning to no longer hate other people. Yearning to no longer take advantage or use them or lie to them or be angry at them. Yearning to find what you somehow lost. Yearning for the Father you've never known. Yearning for innocence, for truth and goodness, and nobility, something solid. Some kind of a yearning like that. See, which is actually the soul's silent cry to God. And then He answers with His light. And the first thing you will see when God turns up the dimmer switch on the light, see, when He turns it up, then the first thing you're going to see is what? Are you going to see angels and I don't know, all kinds of scenes of heaven or something? No. Are you going to see how wonderful you are and how great you are and how nice you are and all that? No. If you do, then you're being deceived. It's the wrong guy. It's the guy with the horns pretending to be good, okay, to be your conscience. Because there is a false conscience. See, the dark side. See, the dark side is always there, supporting your ego, comforting you, reassuring you, enticing you on, excusing you. It's very comforting. It's enabling. See? And it tells you what you want to hear. And it loves you just the way you are. Sure, it goads you on, but then the goaded thing that it makes, the driven thing, the ambitious thing, the hateful thing, the resentful thing, the judgmental thing, then it comforts. See? Well, so don't listen to that. That's the wrong one. Conscience. It's a false conscience. But your real conscience is wordless. You just know. So what's the first thing your real conscience you'll see? You'll see your own wrongs. You'll see that you hated your mom, hated your brother, resented your partner, were phony with people. You'll see things like that. Then what you do is just see it. Just see it. You don't resent seeing it. You always resented seeing it. Now just see it. It's a little painful, okay? But it's a good pain. It's like going to the dentist. You have a tooth that needs to be pulled. You go to the dentist. It hurts when he pulls the tooth, but then afterwards you feel better. You're glad you got the tooth pulled. So it's like that. See? And that is how you begin to be reconciled to conscience. See? You have a change of heart. Before you took pride in your anger and your rage and hatred and judgment of others and blaming them and so on. You felt like a martyr. See? Now you have a change of attitude. Now you see that you're a resentful person. See? You've been judging them, but you're what's the old expression? They say if you point a finger at someone else, then there are three fingers pointing back at you. It's pretty much the way it is. The things that you hated in others, you resented them for being rude or for being selfish or something. That was what was in you. See? You were resenting it in them because you recognized it in them because it's in you. So now you see that. And then you see yourself messing up and you also see that you don't want to mess up. And communication with your kids is not good or your partner, but you want it to be good, but it's not. And you see that you're part of the reason. Then now you see that your parents maybe they weren't so bad after all. See, you hated them. You thought they were deliberately being mean, deliberately hateful, deliberately messing things up, deliberately not being there for you. Now you see that they were struggling just as you are. They couldn't help themselves either any more than you can. So now you have compassion on them for them instead of hating them. So it's another aspect of a change of heart about things. See? So you have a change of heart about all these things. And now you begin to see things from the light's perspective. That's right. You see things from the perspective, in the perspective of the light. And you see things. And then, but you also, so now you see you're wrong. And so now you see what's wrong with resentment. What's wrong with hating people and being phony and being ambitious. And you see all of that. Okay? But you also see the light is showing you so that you can be better. And the light doesn't hate you. See, maybe you hated God, but he doesn't hate you back. See? He just wants you to be better, that's all. Now you see all of that, and then you drop the pride, become a regular person, you let your hair down, and for a while you're just a regular person. See? And you see things for what they are. The things aren't always what they're cracked up to be. And then you see that some people who you thought were mean, who spoke the truth, see, you find out they really aren't mean. You thought they were because in your subjective state, you liked what was comforting and warm and reassuring, and you didn't like a dose of truth. See, so you'll have a complete change of heart, a change of attitude. Now you've come over to the bright side again. Now you're a friend of conscience. And as a friend of conscience, and closer to conscience, now you are like when you were a little child, except now you're an adult. See, as a little child, you were just a little child. But now you're a big adult. So now you can have a mature understanding of things. See? And go out in the world. So what's the best time to meditate? So now that's the meditation that you want, the one that brings you closer to your intuition, closer to what you know in your heart. That's the meditation like the one that I have for you. Okay? It's very simple. See? Because in the past, when you fell away from conscience, you fell into your thoughts. And the thoughts came from the world. See, when you fell away from faith, you became emotional. And then the emotions bonded you. The emotions were the bond, or the connection with the world. And thoughts came in. And suggestions came in. And things came in from the world. See? Before long, your mind was a product of the world, controlled by the world. And your imagination was where you sought refuge. But the more you sought refuge in daydreams, see, in pipe dreams, and thinking about the past and planning for the future and all of that, then you were separated from the light again. See, to be in the light, you have to be separate from your imagination. That doesn't mean blanking thought, blanking him. It doesn't mean that. It just means observing it. Like sitting on the bank of a river and watching the river flow by instead of jumping into it. You've always jumped into your imagination and floated away with it. See? But your imagination catered to what was wrong with you. It consoled you with its velvety dark consolations. Now you have to stand back. See it? Observe it. Don't react to it. See? And now you're observing in the light. So now you're no longer subject to thoughts and subject to your imagination. You're observing them. You're the observer. See? That's the idea. So that's what a simple little meditation helps you to find that. Very simple. Very, very simple. But it only works when your attitude is one where you want to know the truth and are willing to know the truth. You see, that's why some people, they don't want anything to do with it. But if you're ready, then it works for you. It's very simple. The best time to meditate, first thing in the morning. Because what you're doing is you're starting the day off right. Starting the day, just as the universe was created from stillness. From the still center, God sent forth movement. And the universe was created. It began in stillness. Okay? So you begin the day in stillness. Sitting quietly and becoming still before the inner light of truth. See? And then from that stillness, a little something is downloaded, some kind of magical, ethereal stardust from God is downloaded, and then it will become insights, noble thoughts, and so on. And so you begin that way, and then move forth with the energy that comes from your center of being, from the stillness. See, your soul is actually outside of time. When you're meditating, your soul actually is outside of time, closer to God. Then after 5 minutes of meditation or so in the morning, now you go out. See? You started the day off right. And basically what you did also is you recommitted yourself to wanting to have God in your life. See? So you start off right. Then you go out in the day and meet whatever comes your way, with what grace is given to you, with what patience is given to you. See? With what wisdom, with what understanding is given to you. Okay? And each day you do better and better. You react less and less. You become calmer, more patient. See? You'll have more understanding and insights and realizations. See? And life is good. My name is Roland.